ventilation shaft is a steel coffin. It measures exactly 14 inches by 14 inches. Inside, there is no light. There is only the smell of oxidized metal. Quawntay Adams is paralyzed by the silence. His lungs pull in the stagnant, metallic air. He is 40 feet above his cell. He is suspended between a cage and the sky. In his right hand, he grips a silver wire. It is the high E string from a guitar. It is thinner than a surgical needle. It is wrapped tightly around a jagged steel tooth. The wire vibrates with every heartbeat. Adams does not move his body. He only moves his hands. A rhythmic, sawing motion. Left, right. The friction creates a faint, high-pitched whistle. It is the sound of structural failure. Suddenly, the resistance vanishes. The steel plate beneath him groans. It drops. A hairline fracture of moonlight pierces the dark. Dust motes dance in the silver beam. The impossible breach has begun. The ghost Alton City Jail was built for one purpose: to be a cage with no exits. It is a fortress of logic. The walls are 12 inches of reinforced concrete. Inside that concrete is a skeleton of hardened rebar. It was designed to resist explosives. It was designed to resist time. Every cell is a pressure cooker of surveillance. The bars are made of tool-resistant steel. They are tested for resonance every morning. A dull thud means a cut. A sharp ring means security. But the ceiling is the true barrier. It is a single, continuous sheet of quarter-inch steel. This plate is bolted to the floor above. There are no seams. There are no gaps for a human hand. The facility operates on a 30-minute loop. Guards move like clockwork through the block. They use heavy flashlights to break the dark. They look for shadows that move. They look for eyes that are open. Adams was kept in a level 5 isolation unit. This is a jail within a jail. He was stripped of a civilian identity. He had no books with metal staples. He had no pens with metal clips. The system had cataloged his every past failure. They knew he was a runner. They knew he was calculating. They believed the environment was a total vacuum. No tool. The facility was designed to eliminate variables. Every object introduced to the cell was logged. Every item was vetted. But the facility underestimated the human capacity for adaptation. Adams viewed the prison not as a cell, but as a supply depot. He needed a blade. He sourced a 3-inch fragment of high-carbon steel. It was brittle, jagged, and lethal. It was hidden deep within the binding of a legal book. The guards checked the pages for messages. They did not test the density of the spine glue. They did not measure the physical weight of the binding. The book became a vessel, a container for the key to his own cage. The blade was too small to leverage against the ceiling. It was too small to grip by hand. He needed a force multiplier. He requested a guitar, citing music as a rehabilitative need. The staff saw a hobby. Adams saw a disassembled kit of raw mechanical parts. He extracted the high E string. It was nickel-plated steel. It was engineered to hold 80 pounds of consistent tension. It was, for all intents and purposes, an industrial wire saw. But bare wire against hardened ceiling steel creates friction heat. Heat ruins the temper of the metal. The blade would dull. The wire would snap. He needed an abrasive agent to do the heavy lifting. He developed a complex lapping compound. He took standard issue prison soap. He combined it with microscopic particulate from the concrete floor. He gathered fine silica dust from the ventilation intake. He mixed these into a thick gray, abrasive slurry. The slurry acted as the cutting teeth. The wire acted as a carrier for the abrasive. He stood on his small, rickety stool. He looped the string over the ceiling light fixture. He created a vertical pulley system. His hands gripped the two ends of the wire. He initiated the process. Left, right. The friction generated a low, rhythmic hum. He waited for the sound of the main block fans. The industrial noise of the vents masked his operation perfectly. He worked in precise 5-minute intervals. He monitored the temperature of the string. He cooled the metal with his own breath. He monitored his own pulse. He managed his own breathing to remain perfectly silent. This was not brute force. This was controlled, thermodynamic erosion. He was eating through the 1/4-inch steel plate. He was clearing a path to the shaft. Every night, the cut grew deeper by a fraction of a millimeter. Every night, the structural integrity of the cell block vanished. He was patient. He was methodical. He was mapping the fatigue point of his cage. He knew that all materials have a breaking point. He was waiting for the metal to surrender. Black, microscopic shavings fell into his waiting palm. He disposed of the dust in the sink trap, dissolving it in water. The ceiling looked completely untouched from below. The security system showed no signs of tampering. But the logic of the jail had been subverted. The steel was essentially hollowed out. It was no longer a solid, impenetrable barrier. It was an illusion of security. He was ready to shatter the illusion. The countdown had begun. He waited for the midnight shift. He waited for the total silence of the facility. The jail was sleeping, but the ghost in the cell was wide awake. May 2nd, 11:42 p.m. The Alton City Jail block is held in a state of absolute suspended animation. The guard's patrol pattern is a biological clock, predictable, cyclical, and unyielding. The footsteps of the guard echo down the corridor, a rhythmic, dull thud against the polished linoleum. Thump, thump, thump. They reach the end of the line. The heavy steel door at the end of the block creaks open, then slams shut. The sound of the lock engaging resonates through the concrete. The facility returns to its baseline, total, crushing, industrial silence. This is not just quiet. This is an operational vacuum. Adams rises from his cot. His movements are not frantic. Frantic movement is the primary cause of noise. He is a shadow, fluid and rehearsed. He stands on a small wooden stool. He reaches for the ceiling. The steel plate, the one he has painstakingly eroded for 22 nights, is held in place by a single microscopic thread of metal. He exerts a vertical pressure, calculated to the ounce. There is no alarm. There is no siren. There is only the faint, dry snap of a compromised structural bond. He pushes the plate upward, sliding it into the darkness of the ceiling void, placing it on the reinforced concrete ledge above. He reaches up and grabs the edges of the vent. He pulls his body weight upward. His muscles coil. His skin tears against the rough, jagged concrete of the crawlspace opening. He pulls himself in. He vanishes into the black. The cell is now empty. The inmate is gone. He is inside the prison's mechanical skeleton. He is now a ghost in the machine. The shaft is a steel coffin. It measures exactly 14 inches square. The air here is distinct from the cell. It is heavy with the scent of oxidized iron, stagnant humidity, and the thick, suffocating smell of dust that has settled for decades in the interstitial space of the architecture. Adams is pinned by the geometry of the space. He cannot stand. He cannot turn. He must navigate using only the tension of his forearms and the grip of his toes against the cold, galvanized ductwork. Every movement creates a vibration that travels down the shaft. He is acutely aware of the sound of his jumpsuit rubbing against the metal. It sounds like thunder in a confined space. He moves in slow motion, fighting the primal, evolutionary instinct to scramble. He is fighting claustrophobia. He is fighting the sudden spike in his own cortisol levels. He is regulating his breath to keep his heart rate below 90 beats per minute. He reaches the main exhaust junction. The air pressure changes. A distinct, low-frequency thrumming starts to rattle his teeth. The central ventilation fan is ahead. It is a wall of razor-sharp spinning steel. It is rotating at high RPM. It is an impenetrable kinetic barrier. He cannot pass through it while it is active. He must force the system to fail. He must sabotage the flow of energy. This is the moment of greatest risk. If he triggers the electronic alarm, the power cuts to the entire grid and security lockdowns engage. If he makes too much noise, the floor guard will hear the vibration traveling through the walls. He pulls the wooden block from his pocket, a salvaged fragment of his cell furniture. He leans into the motor housing. The fan blades are a blur of light and shadow, an abstract spinning disc. He strikes. He wedges the wood into the gear mechanism. The reaction is violent. The wood screams as it is shredded by the torque of the motor. Sparks erupt, illuminating the shaft and blinding, flickering flashes of orange and blue. The motor strains, whines, and then dies. The silence that rushes back into space is deafening. He has a narrow window of 60 seconds before the diagnostic sensors register the electrical stall and trigger a manual inspection. He squeezes through the stagnant razor-edge blades. The metal is cold, unforgiving. The blade slices orange jumpsuit, grazing his skin. He does not bleed. He does not stop. He pushes through the obstruction with his shoulders. He is out. He is in the clear. He emerges onto the rooftop. The transition is sensory overload. The air is freezing, hitting his sweat-soaked skin like needles. The wind is blowing at 30 miles per hour, pulling at his clothes. He is 40 feet above the ground, looking out over the desolate, dark landscape of the facility. The outer wall is sheer, polished concrete. There is no ladder. There is no path of least resistance. He pulls the salvaged nylon duct straps from his waist. He has knotted them together with industrial-grade fisherman's knots, knots that tighten under load. He tests the tension one final time. He anchors a makeshift rope to a heavy, immovable steel ventilation fixture. He does not look down at the drop. Vertigo is a luxury he cannot afford. He simply steps off the ledge. The friction of the nylon strap bites into his palms, burning the skin. His weight descends. The rough concrete wall brushes against his side, a brutal, abrasive surface. He is a shadow moving against the gray face of the building. Gravity is his only partner now. The wind whips his jumpsuit, threatening to twist his body, but he clamps his legs around the strap, stabilizing the swing. He hits the wet, mud-slick grass with a dull, heavy thud. He is outside the perimeter. He stands up, his joints screaming from the exertion. He is outside the logic of the cage. He stands in the dark. He does not run yet. He takes one breath of unfiltered midnight air, the first real air he has tasted in months. He turns his back on the facility. He moves toward the dense tree line. The breach is complete. The system had failed, and he was already gone. The forest is a different kind of trap. It is vast, silent, and indifferent to the fugitive walking through it. The adrenaline that carried Adams to the shaft and down the wall begins to recede, leaving a hollow, freezing exhaustion in its wake. He walks until his legs buckle. The transition from inmate to free man is not a celebration. It is a terrifying wait. He sits at the base of a towering oak, his breathing ragged. He listens. No sirens yet. The prison is a monolith of stone, still sleeping. He is a ghost, and the world has not yet realized it is haunted. The cold morning light begins to bleed through the canopy. He is invisible here. But the ghost is only as safe as his memory of the cage. He realizes, for the first time, that he is finally, terrifyingly alone. 6 a.m. The shift change is the critical point of failure. The morning count is a ritual, a rigid, bureaucratic ticking of the box. The guard approaches cell 402. He taps the bars. Roll call. Silence. He taps again, louder. Adams, get up. He peers through the viewing slit. The cot is made. The inmate is gone. The guard unlocks the door. He enters the cell, expecting a trick. He looks at the floor. He looks at the walls. Then he looks up. The steel plate is back in place, realigned perfectly. But the ceiling is a lie. It is not attached. The guard pushes. The plate falls. The shaft is exposed. The panic is immediate. The radios crackle to life, shattering the morning peace. Code red. We have an escape. The investigation is clinical. Within an hour, the warden and the tactical team are in the shaft. They find the shredded wood from the fan housing. They find the traces of the abrasive soap mixture. They find the faint metallic scent of the guitar string. They are looking for a violent breach. They are looking for broken locks and bent bars. Instead, they find the evidence of a mastermind. They find that the prisoner did not break the jail. He out-engineered it. The facility was designed to keep people in, but it was not designed to be studied. The breach remains an open wound in the prison security manual. It is a case study in what happens when you treat a human being like a variable to be ignored. They never found him. He didn't just escape the cell. He escaped the system. The facility still stands. The vents are still there. The steel plates are still there. But every time the fans hum in the middle of the night, someone remembers the man who turned them into an exit. Every time a prisoner looks at the ceiling, he wonders if the steel is solid. The legend of the Alton ghost persists. It is a reminder that no cage is truly absolute. Security is just an illusion we agree upon. And illusions? They are meant to be broken. This is Big Crime Update. We pull back the curtain on the systems that think they're impenetrable. We look at the cracks in the fortress. Stay tuned. Because the system is always failing. They just don't know it yet.